Father Christopher arrived on a Tuesday. Sunlight, crisp and clean. Ravendale, nestled in a valley, welcomed him. Church spires like fingers pointing to God. He felt a calmness here, a stark contrast to the city he left behind. Father Christopher, a man of deep faith. His belief, his shield. He was here to serve, to guide this flock. Little did he know, a different kind of flock awaited. The church, old but sturdy, stained glass windows, stories of saints. He traced the lines with his fingers, a prayer escaping his lips, the air heavy with incense and something else, something ancient, something unsettling. He dismissed it as the tiredness of the journey. He would soon learn Ravendale held secrets, secrets whispered on the wind. The townsfolk, courteous but distant, their smiles tight, their eyes holding back something, fear. He saw it in the way they avoided the church after dark, in their hushed whispers. Ravendale, he discovered, was a town with a past that clung to its shadows. Old Mrs. Clementine, the baker, spoke of a curse, a priest gone missing decades ago. Father Michael, they called him, vanished without a trace. Some say he took his secrets to the grave, others that his secrets still lingered. A cold spot in the church, a book left open, whispers that echoed in the dead of night. The first sign, a book misplaced. His sermons rearranged. A chill ran down his spine. He dismissed it, fatigue playing tricks. Then came the whispers, faint at first, growing louder each night, emanating from the belfry. He climbed the steps, each creak echoing in the silence, the rope swaying, no wind. He felt a presence, cold, menacing. A shiver ran down his spine. He recited a prayer, his voice trembling. The presence retreated. He descended, shaken. He locked the belfry door. The whispers continued, muffled but persistent. He couldn't ignore it anymore. Ravendale's past was seeping into his present. Sleep became elusive. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustling leaf sent his heart racing. He saw shadows move in the corners of his eyes, felt a cold breath on his neck. The whispers grew bolder, mocking him, questioning his faith. His once unwavering faith began to waver. Doubt crept in like a fog. Was it the spirit of Father Michael, restless and vengeful? Or was his mind playing tricks on him? He prayed for guidance, for strength, but the fear remained, a constant companion. He sought answers in the church archives, dust-laden books, chronicles of Ravendale's past. He found an old diary, its pages brittle with time. Father Michael's diary. The entries spoke of a darkness that had gripped the town, a darkness he was trying to fight. Then the entries stopped abruptly. He learned of Father Michael's sudden disappearance, the rumors of foul play, of an unholy pact. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced him. Was this the darkness that haunted these halls, the same darkness that was now tormenting him? He had to know more. He had to uncover the truth. He sought out Mrs. Clementine, her eyes filled with fear and pity. She spoke of a hidden chamber beneath the church, sealed off after Father Michael's disappearance. He went down there, she whispered, to confront the darkness, but he never came back. He knew what he had to do. Armed with a lantern and a prayer, he descended into the depths of the church. The air grew heavy, the silence oppressive. He found the chamber, the door sealed with a rusted lock. He broke it open, the sound echoing in the silence. The chamber was cold, damp, the air thick with the stench of decay and something else, something ancient and evil. He felt a presence stronger than before. The whispers intensified, swirling around him. A figure materialized in the darkness, gaunt, with hollow eyes. Father Michael. "You should not have come here," the figure rasped, its voice filled with sorrow and warning. "This darkness, it consumes all." Father Christopher stood his ground, clutching his crucifix. "I am here to help you find peace," he said, his voice trembling. Father Michael's spectral form shook its head. "This darkness is not mine alone to bear," it moaned. "It is tied to this town, to its sins." He spoke of a betrayal, long ago, a pact made with dark forces, a curse that had fallen upon Ravendale. He had tried to fight it, but it had consumed him. "Help them!" the figure pleaded, its voice fading. "Break the curse! Don't let Ravendale suffer the same fate!" Then, with a mournful sigh, the figure dissipated into the darkness. The whispers ceased. The presence lifted. Only the echo of Father Michael's plea remained. Father Christopher emerged from the chamber, the weight of Ravendale's past heavy on his shoulders. He knew what he had to do. He gathered the townsfolk, told them the truth about their past, about Father Michael's sacrifice. Together they prayed for forgiveness, for redemption, a cleansing ritual, breaking the chains of the past. The darkness lifted slowly at first, then all at once. The whispers ceased, the shadows retreated. Ravendale was free. Father Christopher, his faith tested but not broken, found solace in his purpose. He would remain in Ravendale, a shepherd guiding his flock towards the light. Their past would be a reminder that even in the darkest of times, faith, hope, and forgiveness could prevail. Father Christopher arrived as evening fell. Silent Creek, they called it. He felt a chill despite the summer air. Something was wrong here. The church bells tolled, a mournful echoing clang. They were not supposed to ring. No one had touched them for years, except, the villagers whispered, the ghost. They said she was a young woman, wronged in life, betrayed by her lover, driven to despair. Her spirit, unable to find peace, remained, twisted by anger, seeking solace in darkness. The ghost haunted not just the old church. It reached into homes, into minds, whispering in the dark, planting seeds of fear, preying on the weak, seeking to possess their souls. Section 5. The weight of fear, the burden of faith. Father Christopher could feel the town's terror. He saw it in their eyes, heard it in their silence. His faith wavered. Could he protect them? Could he fight something he could barely comprehend? Section 6. Ancient rites and desperate prayers. He immersed himself in ancient texts, seeking answers. He prayed for guidance, for strength. The villagers, desperate, clung to his hope. He was their only shield against the darkness. Section 7. A test of will, a clash of spirits. He confronted the ghost in the heart of the church, a battle of wills, of faith against despair. The air crackled with unseen energy. The fate of Silent Creek hung in the balance. Section 8. The price of peace. The struggle was long, arduous. Father Christopher emerged, victorious but changed. The ghost was subdued, its hold broken. But at what cost? Section 9. The watch continues. Silent Creek was quiet again, the fear receding, but Father Christopher remained vigilant, watchful. He knew the darkness never truly dies, it merely waits, biding its time.
Father Christopher gripped his crucifix. It felt cold against his palm. A shiver ran down his spine. He stood in the church doorway. It was late. Shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. He had to do this. The tormented spirit had to be faced. For weeks, the small town of Ashton had been plagued. Strange noises echoed from the old church. Objects moved mysteriously. People whispered of a shadowy figure. Father Christopher, new to the parish, was determined to help. He would not let fear cripple his faith. He stepped inside. The air grew heavy. An oppressive silence filled the church. He felt a presence. It was cold, angry. It lingered near the altar. His heart pounded in his chest. He moved forward, each step a victory over his fear. The townspeople were afraid. They spoke in hushed tones. The ghost, they said, was Father Marcus. He had served the church a century ago, but his story was shrouded in darkness. Father Christopher listened intently. He needed to understand. He visited the town library. Dust caked the shelves and the air smelled stale. The librarian, a frail woman with knowing eyes, led him to the restricted section. Ancient texts lined the shelves. She pointed to a leather-bound volume. Father Marcus's journals, she whispered. He spent days poring over the faded ink. The journal spoke of a brilliant but troubled priest. Father Marcus had been obsessed with the demonic. He craved power over the spiritual realm. His thirst for knowledge led him down a dangerous path. He began to study forbidden rituals. Father Marcus delved deeper into the forbidden. He learned of ancient incantations. He discovered rituals of summoning. He believed he could control the demonic. He thought he could harness their power. His journals were filled with arrogance. He kept his studies secret. The church with its rules and rituals seemed to confine him. He sought power beyond the scriptures. He yearned to confront the darkness head-on. His faith, once a beacon, became a tool. The townsfolk began to notice a change. Father Marcus grew distant. His sermons became filled with fire and brimstone. He spoke of battles between good and evil. He warned of the ever-present darkness. His words were passionate, but they lacked love. They lacked hope. Section 4. The Ritual and Its Price. Father Marcus found it. An ancient ritual. It promised unimaginable power. It spoke of summoning a demon. He was sure he could control it. His journals pulsed with a dangerous excitement. He chose a night of a blood moon. He snuck into the church. He drew symbols on the floor. He lit black candles. He began to chant. The air crackled with energy. The temperature plummeted. The demon arrived. It was not the servant he had envisioned. The demon was a being of pure malice. It overwhelmed Father Marcus. It ripped through his defenses. It devoured his soul. His cries were absorbed by the church walls. He became trapped, a prisoner in his own purgatory. He was left a shell, a specter forever bound to the church. Section 5. Facing the Darkness. Father Christopher closed the journal. He understood now. Father Marcus's ambition had consumed him. He had become a prisoner of his own making, but his soul deserved peace. He had to help him find it. He stood, his gaze fixed on the altar. He gathered his courage. He prepared himself. He would confront the tormented spirit. He would offer Father Marcus solace. He would use his faith to guide him. He clutched his crucifix. "Father Marcus," he called out, his voice echoing in the silent church. "I know you are here." He waited. The air grew colder. The silence was shattered by a low, mournful wail. The battle for Father Marcus's soul had begun.
Father Christopher, beloved by his parish, a gentle smile, kind eyes, he was a pillar of faith, a beacon in the darkness, but even pillars can have cracks, and darkness can fester within. Father Christopher harbored a secret, one that chilled him to the bone. He was bound to a demon. His days were filled with prayers and confessions. Nights were a different beast. The demon, Ashkar, whispered, tempted, threatened to break free. Father Christopher fought for his sanity, for his soul, for the very existence of his church. Ashkar was ancient. Born of chaos and rage, he reveled in suffering. His laughter, a symphony of screams. Bound within the church, he was a caged beast. His power, muted but not gone. He yearned for release, to unleash his fury upon the world. He haunted Father Christopher's dreams, twisted his thoughts, his voice a venomous hiss. He promised power, offered forbidden knowledge. He preyed on the priest's fear, his desperation. Ashkar waited, for the moment Father Christopher's resolve would break. The church held secrets, buried deep beneath the altar, an ancient pact forged in desperation. Centuries ago, a plague ravaged the town. The townsfolk, desperate, turned to dark magic. They summoned Ashkar, begged for his help. He demanded a price, a soul, bound to him for eternity. The town's leader agreed. The plague receded. The church was built over the summoning site, a prison of holy ground, a priest chosen each generation to bear the burden, to keep Ashkar at bay. The weight of his duty crushed Father Christopher. He prayed for strength, for forgiveness, but doubt gnawed at him. Was he truly a shepherd or a jailer? The line blurred. He saw Ashkar's influence in his anger, his frustration. Confessions became torture. The darkness in others mirrored his own. He sought solace in rituals, in the rigidity of faith, but Ashkar's voice followed, a constant reminder of his curse, of the monster he held within. Section 5. Whispers in the confessional. The confessional box, a sacred space, a place of whispers, of secrets shared. But for Father Christopher it was a battleground. Ashkar delighted in the confessions. The sins of the faithful fueled him. He urged Father Christopher to use the secrets. to manipulate, to control. He whispered of hypocrisy, of the darkness lurking beneath piety. Every confession chipped away at Father Christopher's faith. His resolve wavered. Section 6. The Price of Silence. Father Christopher tried to fight, to ignore Ashkar's taunts, but the demon was relentless. He played on the priest's fears, his desires. He tempted him with power, with the ability to punish the wicked. The town prospered. Coincidence or Ashkar's doing? The line between good and evil blurred. Father Christopher's silence, his inaction, it all came at a price. The demon grew stronger, and the priest weaker. Section 7. Cracks in the faith. The townsfolk noticed the change. Father Christopher's sermons lacked their usual fervor. His touch, once comforting, now felt cold, distant. Rumors spread, whispers of strange occurrences at the church. They looked to him for guidance, for reassurance, but he offered none. He was lost in his own struggle. His faith, once a shield, now felt like a cage. He was trapped by his duty, by his fear, by the demon within. Section 8. The weight of sin. The burden of his secret became unbearable. He aged, his spirit weary. He saw the fear in the eyes of his parishioners, heard the doubt in their voices. He had failed them, failed himself. Ashkar reveled in his despair. His laughter echoed in the priest's mind. The line between them blurred. Was he still Christopher, or had he become the very monster he swore to contain? Section 9. Damnation and Redemption. The final confrontation was inevitable. Ashkar demanded release, threatened to unleash his fury. Father Christopher stood at the precipice. Damnation on one side, redemption on the other. His choice would decide the fate of the town and his soul. The final battle. Priest against demon, good against evil. The struggle raged within the church, within his soul. Christopher knelt, cold stone pressed against his forehead. The air hung heavy, thick with incense and desperation. His village, ravaged by sickness, looked to him for salvation. He, a mere priest, felt powerless. A whisper, a voice smooth like silk, cold like ice, slithered through the silence. "I can give you power." Christopher's eyes flew open. "No one! Who's there?" The voice chuckled, a sound devoid of humor, full of malice. "Help your people, priest. Embrace the power to heal." The air crackled. A figure wreathed in shadows materialized before him. Ashkar, a demon of immense power, offered a bargain, protection for his flock in exchange for... Christopher shuddered. His soul. It was a pact made with a heavy heart, a desperate gamble. Dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of hope. Christopher awoke, a strange energy thrumming in his veins. The sick were healed. The blight on crops vanished. The villagers rejoiced, hailing Christopher as a saint. His touch mended broken bones. His prayers brought rain to parched lands. He could sense danger, avert calamities, even ward off evil with a gesture. His flock prospered, safe under his watchful eye. Yet a shadow lurked beneath the surface of Christopher's smile. A darkness he couldn't quite place. A coldness that seeped into his bones. The price for his powers, for Ashkar's favor, was a debt he couldn't ignore. The demon's presence grew stronger. Its whispers, once subtle, now roared in his ears, tempting him with even greater power. Power that could alter fate, bend wills, reshape the world. But at what cost? He saw glimpses of Ashkar's true intentions, to corrupt him, to turn him into a puppet, a conduit for its malevolent will. To use his seemingly benevolent acts as a smokescreen for something far more sinister. Sleep offered no respite. Nightmares, vivid and terrifying, plagued him, each one a gruesome tableau of the future Ashkar promised him. The villagers, once vibrant and full of life, were now pale, hollow shells, their souls forfeit to the demon. His flock not saved, but enslaved. Christopher stood at the precipice of a terrifying choice. Continue serving as Ashkar's instrument, a puppet with blood on his hands, or defy the demon and face the consequences. The fate of his soul, the lives of his people hung precariously in the balance. His heart pounded against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat of fear and defiance. He knew what he had to do. The demon had to be stopped. Even if it meant losing everything, even if it meant facing damnation, he would choose his people, choose his soul. The demon's laughter echoed in his mind, cold and menacing. "You cannot escape our bargain, priest." Christopher drew a shaky breath, his voice a mere whisper against the wind. "I will find a way."
The church stood tall, a beacon of hope. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the faces of worshippers in vibrant hues. Parishioners felt peace here. They came to pray. They came to sing. They came to be closer to God. The old wooden pews were worn smooth, a testament to years of faithful service. The air was thick with incense, creating an atmosphere of reverence. The church was a sanctuary, a place of solace, a place where worries faded. One day, the light changed. It became harsh, unnatural. The stained glass windows, once sources of beauty, now pulsed with an eerie glow. Whispers of unease rippled through the congregation. The air, once fragrant with incense, now carried a metallic tang. The change was subtle, but undeniable. Fear began to blossom in hearts once filled with peace. The pews, once welcoming, now felt cold and confining. Their smooth surfaces seemed to whisper dark secrets. The sanctuary was transforming, becoming something sinister, something unknown. Then the crucifixes began to weep. Crimson droplets, thick and slow, trickled down the face of Christ, staining the white plaster with a macabre artistry. Panic gripped the parishioners. This was sacrilege, an abomination. Mothers clutched their children, whispering prayers for protection. The metallic tang in the air intensified, mingling with the scent of fear. The once comforting silence of the church was now punctuated by gasps and muffled sobs. The house of God was now a house of horrors, a place of despair, a place where faith turned to terror. The church stood empty. The parishioners, once so eager to enter, now avoided its shadow. The once welcoming doors remained bolted shut. The unnatural light continued to emanate from the stained glass windows, casting a sickly glow upon the deserted grounds. The air remained thick with the metallic scent of blood. The church, once a symbol of hope, now stood as a monument to fear. A chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of the world. No one dared to enter. No one dared to face the horrors that awaited within. The haunted church of Coimbatore stood alone, a testament to the unknown.